Hi Booktube, this is Raina Root Stuff. I'm Debs. Welcome or welcome back. Today I have for you the wrap up of week 3 of Garbaugust. It's Sunday, end of the week. It's not been a bad week, apart from the Lionesses losing at football this morning. It's been an average sort of reading week, I think. But I'm here with my green pen to see what we've checked off this week. So, this week's prompts: novelizations, books by famous people. The novelization I chose was The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I'm not sure which number book. It does say, look, number 6. This is number 6. From what I can see in the back, all the previous ones they've each been authored by someone different. So this one is by David McDaniel and is called The Dagger Affair. It has absolutely nothing to do with knives, although some are used. This one sees Napoleon Solo and Ilya Kuryakin joining forces with their arch enemies Thrush. And the reason they're joining forces is because there is a new gang on the scene, and that is called Dagger. And they want nothing less than the complete extermination of the human race, including themselves. So, this obviously isn't in Uncle's interests, but neither is it in Thrush's interests. And so they join forces to see if they can stop the threat. As we're still here, I think we can presume they were successful. This, actually, I really enjoyed. I love The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Pretty sure I saw it on reruns. I don't think I'm that old. My dad used to like it. He was a big fan. But yeah, it was a good, exciting, bounce along. I enjoyed it. It was a good read. Now, I wasn't looking forward to the books by famous people. I know a lot of famous people have written books, and a lot of them are very good, but I didn't want to do a good one. I wanted to do one that I thought was going to be a bit naff. So, Rosie by Alan Titchmarsh. Alan Titchmarsh was a famous television gardener who retired from gardening on television to write novels. And I was absolutely convinced that I was going to hate this. And so I hereby apologise to Mr. Alan Titchmarsh, former gardener, now novelist of this world, because I actually quite enjoyed it. It's not going to win a Booker Prize, but it was the story of a guy called Nick and a woman called Alex. Now, to start with, right at the opening of this book, Nick, who lives on the Isle of Wight, gets a call from the police in London to say that his grandmother, who is Rosie, has chained herself to the steps of the Russian embassy. He hops on a ferry, drives up to London, relieves the police officers who have been entertaining 87-year-old Rosie for the last 5 hours. And Rosie manages to persuade him to take her home with him so she can spend a few weeks on the Isle of Wight. What it boils down to is that Rosie is convinced that she is she's one of the Romanovs. She's the daughter of one of Tsar Nicholas's daughters. So she is Tsar Nicholas's granddaughter. That's what she thinks. She was brought from Russia, adopted by an English family. Anyway, the rest of the family thinks she's absolutely insane. And so does Nick, really, but he's got a soft spot for her and he likes to indulge her, and she's quite an active old girl. Nick meets a woman called Alex. Rosie thinks this is just fate. I mean, Nick and Alex, Nicholas and Alexandra. So she tries to set them up. Anyway, it's a nice, funny rom-com with a bit of mystery thrown into it. And actually, I really liked it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So yeah, apologies, Mr. Titchmarsh, for doubting you. I probably won't read another one, to be honest. But I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it. Right, so green pen. Let's have a look. Novelizations, books by famous people. Check. Okay, let's start with ones on the bingo card. Victoria Andrews, Flowers in the Attic. I have read this before. I read this probably a few years after it first came out, and I was in my late teens, and I like to think I'm slightly more discerning now in what my opinions of books than I was then. I think I was always rather caught up in what other people thought of it. There was, I mean, this was popular, really popular, and if I didn't, I don't remember whether I enjoyed it or not, but if I didn't, I probably thought there was something wrong with me because everybody else seemed to love it. Well, I've read it again and I don't like it at all. It's not the relationships at the beginning and the end which bother me, but the mother is just a completely useless individual. Thinks that everybody should look after her. She's a bit pathetic, really, even though she's a bit warped and twisted as well. But also the kids. I mean, the older two of the children are 12 and 14 when they get put into the attic, and they stay there more than 3 years, during which time they grow. And there is a grandmother. Yes, okay, she's a bit fearsome, but there's two of them. There's furniture. Break a chair over the back of her head. Do something. But so this, I think, is the book I liked least this week. But did tick off the VC Andrews swear. So there we go. Now, the other one that I didn't particularly enjoy, and I expected to enjoy this because I thought it was going to be funny, and it wasn't. Fag Hag. I thought that sounded about as trashy as you could get, really. It's by Robert Rhodey. I don't know when it was published because I didn't look. Let's look now and see that it was published in 1993. Okay, so 30 years ago. This was given to me by a gay friend who thought it was absolutely hilarious that that he was giving me something called this. I am going to use this for the book that I'm ashamed to read in public. Not that I'm ashamed actually to read anything in public. But this cover's a bit blatant, isn't it? This sort of screams to anyone walking past. So yeah. Anyway, premise of this book: there is a young woman in her 20s. Her best friend is a gay guy called Peter, and Natalie decides that Peter is only really pretending to be gay. She's in love with him and she's going to turn him, and he's going to realise his feelings for her, they're going to live happily ever after. Okay? Not a great start to a relationship. Natalie, to get her own way, whenever Peter starts a relationship with a new man, Natalie, if it's looking as though it's going to become serious, will do whatever she can to kibosh said relationship. And she's quite insidious in the way she does it as well. She's really very underhand and very sneaky and just does nasty things. Peter eventually meets someone at a wedding. Oh, it's Natalie's brother's wedding. Natalie's brother's wedding. Natalie has persuaded Peter to come along with her as a guest. Sitting at the table is a single guy who owns a gun shop, and Peter falls for him, and his name is Lloyd. Yes, it's definitely Lloyd. Yeah. And Peter falls madly in love with Lloyd, even though they're polar opposites. On the surface, they start having great, meaningful, philosophical conversations. Peter thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. Natalie throws a mega tantrum and tries to split them up in her normal ways, but they don't work. And so she tries harder and harder and harder, involving listening devices and bent policemen and roping in all sorts of weird and wonderful people from the scene that she's been living in, the gay scene. When someone calls her a fag hag, she humiliates him in a dreadful way. And she's really quite warped and twisted. So what I thought was going to be a comedy turned out to be, I suppose it was a psychological book about how far someone can fall when they're obsessed. But the heroine of this book was meant to be Natalie, and it was really, really difficult to like her because of the things she did. But that is rather a loud cover. So I am using that for the book you're ashamed to read in public. Another one bites the dust. Right. The last three I did actually enjoy. So let's start with this one. I was going to use this for the novelisation, but then I wasn't completely sure whether Young Sherlock was actually a television series or anything. So it is, however, green. So I am going to use this one for the book with green on the cover, because it's pretty much all green on the cover. This, I think, is a young adult book. Young Sherlock, Snakebite by Andrew Lane. And what Lane has done is take Sherlock as a teenager as his hero for these. And what he is trying to do, and I think this is book 5, he is trying to have young Sherlock learn all the skills that Arthur Conan Doyle had Sherlock Holmes so proficient at in his 20s. So in that respect, I think that's quite a good premise. So this one, he learns martial arts. At the beginning, Sherlock is kidnapped from Farnham. He's stuck on a ship, and he is heading to China. Mycroft knows, pretty much leaves him to it. and just simply sends out letters all over the place, hoping one of them will get to Sherlock, which basically just wish him luck and tell him to come home as soon as he can. So he's not a lot of good. Sherlock is a stowaway, or is discovered and believed to be a stowaway on this ship, and he's made to work, so he learns some skills on board ship that help his seaworthiness. He befriends the cook on the boat, who is Chinese, and learns Cantonese from him. He also learns Tai Chi, which is where the martial arts training comes in. Eventually they get, the boat is besieged by Chinese pirates on the way there. Nobody's quite sure why. And there's a strange man comes on board in Sumatra, whose skin is silver because he's been ingesting silver because he thought it was going to make him healthier. Anyway, they get to Shanghai, and Sherlock befriends the American son of a merchant out there who's been living out there virtually all his life, is fluent in Cantonese. The cook on the ship had invited him to go round there. So they head off to visit the cook on the ship, only to find that he has been bitten by a snake, and he dies soon after they get there. And then Cameron, who is the son that Sherlock has befriended, Cameron's father also dies. Looks like a snake bite. And mystery. How is young Sherlock going to save the day using only his brains? Well, I thought this was quite good fun. It kept me entertained. Actually, with those, if I see any more, I might actually read another one, because I quite like the idea that each book is developing one of the skills that Arthur Conan Doyle has written into Sherlock. Yeah, I quite like that. So, it's the green one, isn't it? Yeah, this is the middle one. Book with a green cover. Right, two more to go. A step back book. I went all through my books. Well, not all through my books. I went through my books until I found one. And the first one I found was this one, which the step back cover is actually lovely. What a beautiful inside cover. What a shame they've put these on there that pretend to look like stickers that you can't peel off. That's annoying. This is called The Nowhere Emporium. It is by Ross Mackenzie. It won, according to these hideous things, the Scottish Children's Book Awards and also the Blue Peter Book Awards. It was published in 2015. I loved this. This is a magical shop that has been created by a magician. It's called the Nowhere Emporium. It can appear at will, wherever, in a geographical place or in time. And inside it's like a big, huge hotel with rooms of wonders, and people pay to go and experience these incredible wonders, and then their mind is erased when they leave. Now, into this shop, stumbles a young lad called Daniel, and he shouldn't be able to get in without the doors being officially opened, but he does. And so he's taken under the wing of the business, and he helps run the emporium. But there is a bad guy lurking in the background who trained the original magician. And he is looking to get hold of what is called the Book of Wonders. And the Book of Wonders is where the magician writes down the magical text that creates each of the different rooms in there. I thought it was great. It was a really colourful world. The characterization was good. The plot was gripping, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. I think youngsters would enjoy that too. So that is my step back cover, and that is another square ticked off. Finally, this week, I was hoping to do more this week, but I just didn't. I don't know why. But finally, this week, a killer animal book. I went with the classic Jaws. Again, read this years ago. And I enjoyed it as much this time as I did last time. It's not the greatest piece of literature, but it is entertaining. I like the atmosphere of it, I think. I think it's that, because some of the characters are a bit strange. I do like Quint. I've always liked Quint. But it is the classic, isn't it? I was going to try and find some more, but I haven't been able to get out much this week. And so, if I'm going to read a killer animal book, why not read the one that started it? Well, one of the ones that started it all off. I read another one that started it all off, The Rats, last week for the paperbacks from hell. So that one is a killer animal book, all ticked off. So that's been it for my reading this week, and I'm vaguely concerned about this now. Next week is anything goes on the prompts. I can do that. Now, on the bingo card board, we have a Richard Lehman book, which I've got, a book with Satanists, which I've got, a book about gangs, which I've got, a book with nudity on the cover, which I've got, a vigilante book, which I've got. What I don't have is a book with a cigarette ad in it. The best I've managed to do so far is find a book with a stop smoking ad in it, which is this one. And somewhere in the back here, there is there's 2 pages of adverts in this, actually. This one, it can get you a perfect bust. You can gain weight. You can get your hair back. You can get slimmer. Oh no, a slimmer bust. You can stop smoking, or you can even grow taller. I mean, how good's that? But it's not a cigarette ad. And this, on the other side, varicose ulcers, eczema and psoriasis. I'm presuming it's talking about curing it rather than catching it. There's another ad in here somewhere. I can't remember where it is. I don't think I've ever had a book with adverts in it before. Oh, this one's about Joan the Wad, who's a Cornish pixie and will guarantee to bring you money. There you go. Everybody needs one of those. Anyway, my last ditch hope is I have another selection of 6 books arriving from World of Books tomorrow. I can't even remember what they are. But they have been deliberately selected in the hope that one of them might contain a cigarette ad. Who knows? I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Otherwise, this is just the idea of doing a different book for every single one of these is just going to die a death because I can't find a book with a cigarette ad. Well, I've still got, is it the 20th today? I've still got 11 days to try and track one down. So, that's it for this week. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please press like. Subscribe if you'd like to. I'd like you to. It would be nice to have lots of people to chat to about books. Thank you for watching, and that's it for this week. I shall see you very soon. Have a good week.